Hey there, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Thank you for joining me. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery kits. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, and it's a time where we can relax and craft together for about an hour. And we work on projects from beginning to end every day, so you can be part of the whole process along the way. So thanks for joining me. Tonight we are continuing on the Splendid Sampler to Quilt Along. This is the Quilt Along we've been working on for quite a while now. You can get the Splendid Sampler 2 book, and there's 100 different blocks, and you can learn just all sorts of different types of quilt making. So like piecing blocks, you're going to do applique, embroidery, foundation paper piecing, English paper piecing, all of it. So you'll get a really good opportunity to learn or practice a lot of different techniques. And that's why it's really fun for me to work on, because I can learn, like I did the first Splendid Sampler. This is the second time they've done it. And I've just learned a ton. And it's just, I feel like I'm just getting better with every block here. So we're going to continue. We're halfway done with the Majestic Mountains block. Here we are, so cute. So we're going to hopefully finish this one tonight. So we started yesterday. I'm hoping that it's a 2-night thing so we can finish it tonight. So I'm going to flip you guys around and we'll get started. Thanks everyone again for coming in here. I see everyone popping in. All right, going to flip you around. All right, here we are. Here's my board with everything laid out for the night. So this is where we got yesterday. We have all of our 3 rows started, and I'm trying to do it in that way where I keep it all connected, that netting sort of sewing, and it's working kind of weird. I don't know if I would do it again. For this. I thought, that we've done this before, this webbing style of sewing where instead of sewing a whole row together, we sew it by columns. And instead of snipping the threads, we leave the threads there. And then we start the next column and then the next column. And usually it holds all the rows together nice and tight like this. But since we're doing triangles, there's a little jump before the next row starts. So I can't just start the row right away because it would be, this close to it. So that's making it a little bit more difficult. So I'm trying to do a little longer bits, but then, I don't know, I think my stitching has become a little off and stuff for that. So I think I might continue doing it this way, but I think I might snip them as I go because I have like these couple holding things together. I might just leave it at those couple and see what happens tonight. One of the other things that I noticed from last night is that I'm gradually putting pieces lower and lower. So you can see on all of my pieces, I've kind of stepped them down, like especially on this one, you can see I'm just sort of going lower and lower. So when I place my pieces together, I've been matching up the diagonal. There's a little notch at the bottom, and I've been matching up the notches. I'm going to still do that, but I'm going to like maybe shift up just a hair to kind of correct it. Yeah, Linda, exactly. So my strings are too long. They should be close together, but the problem is this row, I started the row here and I end here, but then I need to jump to here. So all my rows are going to be shifted, and I think that's going to get difficult once we, like I can't go from here to here. We'll be like all bunched up like this. So instead I try to make it just a little bit longer, but my machine kind of wouldn't let me go a little bit longer because if it's not going to catch another thing of fabric, then it just keeps spreading. So, and I needed to kind of use these threads to pull to get my next one started just because, so my machine doesn't eat the triangle. So yeah, these are very much too long. I would have just wanted them to be about this long, but that's been, like I haven't been able to get that to work how I had in my head. So from now, I think I am going to do it really close to each other and then just snip them, and then the rest can just be snipped, and that'll be fine. But I think these I'll leave together for now just because it's still holding my rows together, and I think that's nice. So, all right. No, I'm not going to rip anything up. I'm going to just keep going. I'm just going to kind of gradually shift all these up. Well, with the next row, I'll shift them up, and we'll see if that affects things at all. So that's the next plan. We're going to do this next column. And then when we just have these 3 columns left. So we're getting there. We're pretty much done here. And then we get to sew the rows together. I am pressing in between just because we kind of need to press because the seams meet up the top here. So I'm pressing as we go instead of sewing it all first and then pressing. Again, a little bit different than when I usually do this netting style of, you know, chain piecing these rows. All right, here we are. Got a leader already. So I think several of you guys have said this, but I'm concurring that this block is a teeny bit more difficult than I was expecting. There's just some nuances. I mean, even the fact that we're doing triangles make everything more stretchy because it's cut across the grain. And if you do that, things get stretched and it's fraying a little bit more. So even that is a little obstacle. There's just a lot of itty-bitty obstacles that just looking at the block, I wouldn't have thought of immediately. All right, I'm going to shift it up just a hair to hopefully have everything in line a little bit more. And triangles, my machine tends to want to suck them into the machine. So that's been a challenge too. That's why my threads are so long here, because I've been trying to pull on the object before, the row before, just to help it get started in the machine, and that's what's making my threads really long. So I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to just do it how I normally would. I'm going to just start the next row right away, and we'll just trim those rows now that we have some of these rows held together. So again, I just shifted this up a little bit on the diagonal. Oh, it's challenging you just watching, Deborah. Yeah, you know, it's just kind of funny. Some of these blocks that look so difficult and in-depth, some of those end up being some of the easiest blocks. And then some of these ones that look, you know, it's got something a little difficult. It's got these templates, these angles, but all in all, it looks kind of easy. There's some little nuances that make it a little bit trickier than expected. But all in all, it's fine. I think I'm making it a little bit more difficult for myself trying to keep all the rows together. You could just sew row by row and trim them apart each time, and you'd probably avoid a lot of the issues that I'm having. But that's good. I kind of, you know, I like experimenting, trying new things, and like learning, like testing a hypothesis, right? So I was testing the idea of, can I do this webbing style with these triangles yet? And that, you know, popped up a whole pile of issues, right? So now I know better. I wouldn't have learned without having those issues. So see right here, everything is so close. Well, I guess it's fine here. Yeah, it's this next row that's going to be the problem. So see how little my joins are here compared to these big ones. You know, the rows are connecting fine here, but once I sew this triangle on, it's going to end here, and I have to start the next triangle way over here. So that's going to be a pretty big leap. So again, I am going to just start snipping these. And really, I could just keep all these rows separate. I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm just declaring, for me at least, that trying to keep these rows connected in this webbing sort of format, I think that was more trouble than it was worth for these triangles. So I'm ending it. We're just going to keep them separate now. But now having them separate, I'm going to have to keep track of the order of the rows. Like I can't accidentally, you know, mix them up like that. Whereas when they were connected, I always knew what column came where, which is kind of the nice thing about it. But all those strings were, ooh, is this hot? Yeah. All these strings were getting in my way, and I don't need an extra challenge. Let's just leave that. Okay, but this is looking good. Like, check this out. So I remember I shifted that last one up a little bit. Now my row is perfect. I didn't stair step down again. So I just nudged it a little up. You know, yours might be going the other direction. If yours are going like a little up, then just nudge it down. Just like little bits that we're just, you know, adjusting along the way. Well, that's a good idea. Find the center of the seam and line them up that way. What probably happened is when I cut out my templates, you know, some of those little notches that I've been using to line things up, you know, one probably got cut a little bit shorter or a little bit longer. All right. Yeah, and so this one stair-stepped a little, but not as big as the one before. And again, these are triangles. We'll be able to shift them. You know, look, I'm just pulling on this and it's kind of evening out. So once they're sewn into rows, I'm sure it'll be just fine. But yeah, I've never sewn triangles like this before. It's kind of interesting. Oh, Nolene suggests leaving the freezer paper on for the sewing. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, you know, that's a good point. I have sewn triangles like this, but they weren't pieced. Like on the machine, I did them with English paper piecing, which was hand stitching. But you could leave the freezer paper on and then pull it off, kind of like we would with a foundation paper piecing. But I don't know. All right, so far so good. I think this is going to be easier. I'm going to still chain stitch them really close to each other, and I'll just snip them. All I got to do now is remember what row goes where, but you know, we're practically done, so I don't think we'll mess that up. So here, here, and here, and then we just got the last half nubbin, and then we're done. Cool. I'm feeling good about it again. Those long strings just weren't working for me, so separating them, I think, was a good idea. Okay, so again, I have a tendency for shifting these down, so I'm going to match up these lines here again, so those notches meet on the diagonal, and I'm going to just shift up just a hair again, just because my tendency on these were that they were all shifting down, so I'm erring on the side of just scooching it up just a hair. There we go. So by starting the next row right after this, it's helping my triangles, the corners not getting sucked into my machine, which is good. Oh, hold on here. What's the? Oh, I guess that is the right side and the wrong side. It looked flipped. Some of these light colors, the right and wrong side, are pretty close looking. Got to do some double takes. Okay, last one of these. Then we'll press these again. I'm just shifting it up just a tish. Adjusting as I go here. All right, I'm gonna grab another leader here. So I'm almost out of these leaders. We're gonna, on this Friday, which is coming up here, we're going to trim all these leaders. You know, I've been making all these, instead of just putting a little piece of fabric at the end, which is what someone like would typically do for a leader, you know, which just helps us start and stop and not use as much thread. Instead, I'm trying that idea of, instead of using just a little bit of scrap, why not sew something else. So I've cut up some old clothing, and where instead of just sewing into a little piece of fabric, I'm sewing these squares so that I can cut them and make a whole pile of half square triangles. And you guys, we cut these all up, I think 2 months ago for a Finish It Friday. I do a Finish It Friday once a month, the first Friday of the month, where we just work on something else. And we cut up this fabric into squares. That's all we did. And you know what? I've practically used up. I mean, like I have a light pile and a dark pile, and my light pile, I think we might use it all up tonight. So that's crazy that we're actually that far with oh, I gotta keep these in order again. We're that far with my bucket of leaders. Like here's another one done. We're sewing on either side. So we'll cut this in the middle, and then we'll have a half square triangle on either side. So I'm hoping to cut all those up and trim them. I bought a couple new trimming tools that we'll test out. So we're gonna do a little, I've not taken them out of the packaging yet. So it'll be like a little test to see how we like these new tools to help with the half square triangles. New to me tools. So we got a couple suggestions from people here, and I think it's gonna be fun to try out. Here, let me show you guys what I got since I'm talking about it. So I got the slotted trimmers. So in theory, with these, you can leave your half square triangle folded in half still and trim it, and it also cuts off the dog ears. Yeah, see, there we go. Cuts off the dog ears. So I'll definitely tell you guys, it'll make more sense once we use it. And then this is the block lock. I got a pack of 3. These are all very small sizes of the block lock rulers, but they were the sizes that I thought I'd probably use the most, at least at this point. I'll probably use this 2.5-inch one in the middle for the blocks that I'm doing the leaders of. But yeah, so we'll test out the block lock rulers and the clearly perfect slotted trimmers. We'll test out both of these. We'll open them up and test them both out on Friday. So if you guys are hanging out with me on Friday, that is the plan. Oh, you love the block locks, Carol. Okay, awesome. That's what I want to hear. I suspect I'm going to really like them too. I couldn't understand them. Like I didn't understand how they were helpful or how to even use them, but I think I've got it now. I think I figured it out in my head, at least. Like I said, I haven't opened the package or anything yet, but I think if you guys have been with me while I use the oh gosh, what's it called now? Oh, the add a quarter ruler. When we do the foundation paper piecing, the add a quarter ruler, it has that ledge that you can bump up against your fabric to get that 1/4 inch. I think this block lock acts the same way. I think it just bumps up against that center seam. And, you know, when you think, like, well, I can just measure that center seam, whatever, that's easy enough just to measure it. But just the act of not having to, just the act of having to just plop that thing up by feel, at least with the add a quarter ruler, just makes all the world happier and just, you just want to like sing because it's just that much easier. Such a stupid idea that like, why the hell do I need that? And then it's just so, it just makes life that much easier. So I'm pretty excited about, oh, Carol, so you're saying that's how it works. I am really, really excited about the block lock rulers. And actually, I'm pretty dang excited about those slotted trimmers too, because I can get them all trimmed beforehand. So I think with the slotted trimmers, while it's still folded, you're cutting just a triangle, and then you open it up and it's your perfect square right away. I think I'm gonna really enjoy that a lot. I'm just, the one thing I'm worried about with that is when you press it open, I mean, your triangles might shift a little bit, or it might not be like a perfect square anymore if your fabrics are a little stretchy. So I'm wondering if the better route isn't the block lock rulers, but that's what I want to find out. So which do we like better? Do we like the slotted trimmer or this block lock ruler? I think I will like them both compared to how I'm doing it now. So I'm pretty stoked. So I've been waiting for Friday to come along so we can do that. All right, let's see. Let's get another. I only have 3 light squares left. It looks like I got a few extra dark ones. I actually have quite a few dark squares yet, but the light ones, I only have, this is, I think after this one I might only have 2. So dang, we're gonna have to cut a whole pile more. So one of these Finish It Fridays, we'll have to cut more of these squares, or maybe I'll just do that on my own because I'm gonna need all these leaders. But yeah, I'm excited to test out those new products. Oh, Amy, you've never had any issues with the slotted rulers. Okay, that is great news. Because I'm really excited about them. Gosh, you know, I never used to be about all these gadgets, but if they just make one little thing easier, I mean, sometimes that's all it takes to go from not liking a whole technique to being totally okay with it. So I'm pretty stoked. All right, so this is our last row we're pressing. Oh my gosh, and look how far off I was with this one. So I nudged it up a bit again, but look, I completely stair-stepped up almost almost 1/8 of an inch, or at least 1/8 of an inch. So I think we'll just get that sewn in into our row, but oh well. Again, we are sewing these triangles so that it'll be a little bit more flexible because, again, with the triangles, you're cutting the triangles across the grain of the fabric, and when you do that, they become very stretchy. The fabric becomes stretchy, so you can kind of manipulate it. So we can just kind of stretch it like that, and our rows will even out a little bit more. I had a little problem there. It looks like the machine ate that corner a little bit. Yeah, again with, oh man, I'm not getting the seam ripper out. No way. We're gonna make it work how it is. Oh, this one too. So all of these, I kind of shifted those that last little half triangle up a hair too much. But I think we're gonna be totally fine when we're done with this. But there's our rows. So again, it looks so simple, but this is a little bit more difficult than I thought it was gonna be with these templates and stuff. Yep, it's stretchy because it's on the bias. Exactly, Peter. So cutting across the grain like that, it's called the bias. Like a true bias is like a 45-degree angle. You have your fabric and you have thread going up this way and you have thread going this way woven together. The angle that's going the 45 degrees of that's the bias. And it's the stretchiest part, whether it's still within the fabric and you stretch it at an angle, it gets really stretchy. And if you cut it to, that's the stretchy side. And because it's stretchy, we can manipulate it a little bit more. See, there's that stretch. So all these rows that I kind of stair-stepped, like this one looks like it's kind of angling down a little bit. I can just give it a little stretch the other way, and that might fix it just enough for us. And actually, I'm not all that far off, so I think we'll be okay. All right, we just have to sew these rows together. Let's see, I think, you know, in theory, we just lay them on top of each other and sew them together, but there are a few things we want to look out for. One is, it'd be nice if we centered these points in this next triangle. And we also have points on both sides that ideally we don't want to clip off. So we don't want to sew too far in, so we clip them off. So we're going to have to aim for those points. So I think just to give this a start, I think I'm going to fold. I'm worried about lining up these points. So I'm going to fold this triangle in half. I'm going to line up my seams and just kind of press it here. And there we go, because now I have the center. So that center, I want to line up with this point. And you know what? I think I'm going to do that for these other little edges as well. So again, I'm going to just line up those seams, just kind of finger press it. Oh, they do kind of look like mountains in the distance. Yeah, so this is the Majestic Mountains block from the Splendid Sampler to Quilt Along. It's on page 33 if you guys are looking for it. But there we go. So I put little center points in there. I think I'm going to use those to line up the edges. And I wonder, you know what? I think I'm going to even clip them. Normally with a row this short, with not a lot of things to line up, I wouldn't always clip. But because I do want to get these lines, those center lines, aligned with our points here, I think I'm going to just throw a wonder clip in there. And oh my gosh, my rows are so far off. You know, it might be even a good idea for me to trim this. Let's see, do I want to do that? I think we're going to just try and line up these middle points, and that'll make me happy enough, I think. I could trim these edges so that they're straight, and then I could line those up. The middle one on the last one looks like there's a critter falling, does it? Oh, like right here, this guy's kind of sliding down, and this guy, he got his little head cut off there. All right. So right now I have the centers lined up. Don't trim, Nolene? Okay, I will not trim. So I'm kind of just averaging out the bits because, like, see that part dipped in there. I kind of missed. It's not a straight edge, it's stair step. So I just averaged it out basically. All right, but now what we're gonna do is when we sew, we need to match up. Like, I want to sew right on top of this point, because then if we do that, then when we open it, we won't have cut our point off. So what we're going for is basically, if I can pinch it just right, we're going for like that, where that point ends right when it hits this next fabric and then goes up. We don't want it too far. If we go too far, this is exaggerated a little bit, but you know, then we've lost our point. And if we go too less, then we have a lot of overlap there. So we're going for right there, and we should be able to get it if we sew right over that point. So the trick is we actually have to do that on this side too, and we're not going to be able to see these bottom points because, you know, we have these points to line up, but we also have these points. So I suppose we just should decide what's more important to us and have that on top. I think having these mountain tip points are more important than having these like valley points. So I'm actually going to, you know, I clipped this the wrong direction, but I'm going to actually have, so this next row of mountain points, so we have those seams on top. And those are the seams I'm going to aim for, I think. They're actually even hidden from because the seam allowance is tipped the other way, but I think those are the ones we're going to aim for. See, so right here where this crosses, that's what we're going to do. All right, let's just give it a go. Yeah, that's that's totally true, Nolene. If I trim the row, then I can't get it back. And you know, at this point, I just want to see if we can figure this guy out and get him done. It is going to have a lot of weird little edges, but we're going to just give it a try and do our best here. All right, so I'm going to just, right here is where that first mountain peak is. All right, and you know what? I can kind of peek where these next, you know, you can kind of feel, like even if I press down in there, you can kind of see in the shadow where that peak is. So I can still aim for that when I sew. All right, so I think I hit that. Now let's do this next point. Just opening this to check it out. All right, it's right here. I'm using my stiletto to just kind of help me aim. All right, let's find that point on the underside again. I think it's about right there. Aim for that. And then this last feller right here. Let's just fold that seam allowance over again too. Okay. Moment of truth. Let's see how we did. Yes, holding breath, exactly. That is what I'm doing for sure. All right, let's get our leader in here. Okay. Let's see how we go. Oh, good. I'm glad this is helping a little bit. I mean, you know, I'm learning along the way to Leslie Ann, but it's nice that we can try things together here. All right, let's see how we did here. Oh gosh, I don't even know which was the top one. We're gonna have to, oh wait, yeah, it has to go this way. All right, okay, let's look. Oh, that looks fancy. That looks really good. Oh, this valley looks awesome. Oh, this is going better than I thought, you guys. Okay, we just got a little, we could have sewn it just a hair more, but I'm not sad about that at all. Again, that one too, we could have sewn in a little bit more, but I think having it this way is a little bit better than clipping it like that. So I'm happy about that. Ooh, I am just way happier about that row than I thought it was gonna be. So, okay, that's great. All right, let's do the next row. Yeah, I am super happy about that, actually. I'm surprised. You know, my row does kind of swirl a little bit because I on purpose try to get those points, but again, since we're on that diagonal, that bias, I think once we press it, we can manipulate it a little bit. But dang, I'm really happy about that. So, all right, let's do the same thing with this bottom row. I think dividing that in half was helpful to get those center points as best we could. So again, I'm just gonna kind of line up my seams and that bottom edge and just finger press just right at the bottom. There we go. That's all we need, a little tick mark there. And this last one. Ugh, I don't think I'm lined up. Let's fold it this way. All right, I think this will do. There you go, Deborah. All right, so I got those center points again. So let's start out by lining up those points. And this time I'll go this way. Yeah, because I want to pay attention to these points the most again, because I think those peaks are, you know, visually, I think a hair more important than the valleys. So I'd rather screw up the valleys than the peaks, but you know, who knows how it'll go. This peak right here looks so much lower than these two, so you know, it just might not work to begin with. But let's have these on the top because those are the points I want to look for. So let's start again by centering those peaks on that fold that we did. That's a good place to start. Again, my rows are so wonky, but that's, so far we've made it work. All right, I think about right there. Clip, get my wonder clip. All right, and this last point. All right, it's hard to tell. There we go. All right, so again, we're just gonna sew down the line here, and I'm gonna aim, I'm gonna aim for those points where they cross. All right, let's do it. All right, hopefully we do as good of a job on this side as we did on the other. Again, gotta turn it on. Again, we might have a little kind of wavy-ish line because I did kind of stair step this a little bit, these lines. Gosh, yeah, this one has to go all the way here. But I think, again, I think we'll be able to kind of stretch it into place. And once we quilt this whole thing, it's gonna go where it wants to go anyway. Okay, I think our point looks like it's about right here on the other side. So I'm aiming for that. All right, next up is this guy. All right, the point is right here. This is that one that's a hair lower. All right, next is the point on the other side. You can feel it, it's about right there. Okay, last one here. I know I'm holding my breath here too. All right, right there. Okay, let's see how we did. Get a leader in here again. Oop, clip the point of that. Alrighty. Oh, this is it, you guys. All we have to do is press it and then test our measurement. Okay, here we go. All right, let's take a peek at how we did on those points again. Oh my God, I just got paranoid that I sewed it upside down, but I didn't. I just freaked myself out for a second there. All right, let's open it up. Looking good. Not too shabby. Oh, see, this is that mountain that was a little bit lower, and we have that little gap there. But again, not too bad. Ooh, that one looks real good. Oh, here again, we have a little bit of a gap. We could go back and sew it a little bit more, but I actually don't mind having that gap. I'd rather have that than have clipped it. So, all right. It's looking pretty wonky, but again, once we sew it together, let me press it, and then we'll just check the measurement. I want to see how close we are to the 6.5. I suspect it looks a little skinny. I suspect that I may have lost some width along the way here, but let's press it. In the instructions, it wants us to press these seams open like that. So let's give that a try. Back to the mat here. All right, I think my iron is still hot. Yeah, I definitely have some wonky seams in here. I think we can stretch it all out though. Okay, so I'm just gently opening this seam and pressing it. By opening the seam, I just mean like the seam allowance is going, like half of it's going one way and half of it's going the other. An open seam versus just pressing it all to one side. Get in there, point, there we go. All right, I'm also going to flip it around and press it again on the top. That's where we'll really kind of press it. I just want to lay it down so to make sure that my seams are still open. Those need to be pressed a little bit more. There we go. Now let's really squish this thing. We got a little puckering going there, but again, that'll kind of that's just a lot because we're doing the triangles. So that bias stretch is happening a little bit there. And it's fighting with the seam allowance in the back a little bit. But I think if we give this a little stretch, and once we get it sewn and basted into the quilt, I think we'll be good to go. All right, let's give it another little stretchy stretch here. All right, we did it, you guys. That is some wonky edging around this one, but still, all in all, I'm pretty happy with how the center turned out. Like, we were able to still get those points and everything. Okay, let's measure this. I do suspect that we got this a little small. Yeah. So this is definitely, I almost have even a 1/4 inch on both sides. So we're almost a hair less than a 1/2 inch of loss here. So we are going to have to probably put some white edges on, like how we did for some of these other blocks. Actually, you know, again, these are triangles, so with a little bit of stretch, we're probably a little bit better. But man, I'm still happy with it, especially, you know, it was a little bit more difficult than I thought it was going to be. But there we go. So I think we'll just leave this. I'm not going to add any edges on until we're ready to sew it into our quilt as you go blocks, our blocks of 4 that we're putting together. At that point, we can address that. But I'm happy with it. I picked my lightest fabrics against the white just to see, can we even still see them? Can we get contrast still in our most low contrast fabrics? And I think it's nice. It's almost like at a distance, like seeing the mountains way far away in the distance, you know? The snowy mountains just far away. But I like it. So, all right, you guys, I think that is that. Oh, this is how, oh, Shauna, so you tried this 3 times and it was that short every single time. Huh. I wonder, I mean, like, I suspect my issue is I'm probably just sewing my seams just a little bit too fat. Like if I skinnied up my seams, in my head, I probably just got sloppy along the way and sewed them a little bit bigger than I needed to. But I'm not, you know, I'm not sure. I would have to try it again, I think, sometime. But yeah, I like it. All right, you guys, I'm going to flip you around and we'll call it a night. We got it done a little bit early here. So here's the difference between a very low contrast block. Low contrast meaning the value between the fabrics is very, very close compared to here where it's very, very far away. Like this is almost black and white, whereas this is just white and just something a hair lighter. There's still contrast, just a lot lower contrast than this. So it's just kind of interesting to see different kind of looks and feels to it. Oh, it wasn't the sewing, it was the design needed to be a touch bigger. I don't know, I don't know. I think if I just did a little more scant, oh, you think the templates were a tad small? So I haven't done a lot with triangles, but you know, there is the thing, you know, we're doing a 1/4 inch seam allowance, but they're not straight. So maybe we're losing a little bit more by doing it at an angle, or maybe that doesn't make sense. I'm not sure. But all in all, I'm pretty happy with it. Oh, a touch off in the printing. Oh, do you think that's what it is? So some people, I've heard this been mentioned before, that when they put it in the book here, it might have just been a hair small. And these are still a 1/4 inch, but you know, it could be just a hair small of a 1/4 inch. Yeah, I'm not sure. My guess is it's just my sewing. All right, I'm gonna flip you guys around and we'll call it an evening here. Hello. So yeah, again, I'm, you know, at first glance, I did think that this was gonna be just more straightforward and easy, this block. It's not necessarily difficult, it's just more little tidbits that you gotta think about. Like you gotta think about the stretchiness, you gotta think about, you know, cutting those templates just right. But it is just a really pretty block. I mean, here it's just so low contrast, but I think It'll look cool in the quilt. And we talked about for the quilting of this, it might be really cool to add contrast. So this is a very low contrast in the value of the color, but we could do high contrast when it comes to the quilting. So what I mean by that is we could leave the white totally blank, and with the quilting of these, we could just really fill it in a lot or do a lot to the quilting of the mountains, and then we'd have high contrast quilting basically on a low contrast block, and I think that could be pretty cool. So we got to remember to do that once we get to the point of quilting this one. But yeah, I'm pretty happy about those points, you guys. I was not expecting to get all those points to line up so nice. So awesome, you guys. Thank you again for joining me on this block and on this project. It's especially, I feel just like so thankful for you guys, especially on a block like this where I need all the help I can get. So awesome. I will be back here tomorrow, and let's start another one of these pieced blocks. I'm really trying to crank my way through some of these pieced ones lately, and I'm really having a lot more fun than I thought I was going to doing it. So thanks again, and I'll get this up on YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies, and then on, oh, sorry, I'm just kind of reading and talking at the same time. Do dense quilting on the blues. Yep, exactly. Do dense quilting and then some less dense quilting. Yeah, so I'll be here tomorrow on the Penguin and Fish Facebook page at 8:30 p.m. Central Time again. So I will see you guys then. Have a fabulous rest of your day or rest of your evening, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Good night.